big beautiful bill, the Republicans from Project 2025, they are trying to push that if the father leaves the household with a 7-year-old child or older in it, the mother and the child lose their SNAP benefits. So the only way to get those back and get that assistance is to get remarried. Let that sink in for just a second. So they're punishing the mother and child that you're saying for the father leaving because the mother and the child must have done something wrong to make the father leave, they are saying. So not only are they trying to trap us, starting with women seeking abortions across the border in Canada, but they are trying to take everything that makes it possible to live. And remember, Trump said he wants to make homelessness illegal. So, you have to have a man, you have to have children. If you're homeless, you're a criminal. Criminals can't vote, but they can be president, apparently. So we need to do something now, or we need to get out, like I've been saying. Single mothers everywhere, band together. Everyone, band together. If you think you're safe, you're wrong. Even if you are a Trumpster, you are not safe. Spread the word. And let's sign more petitions. Do more things. Do not shop anywhere that is donating to the Republican Party. You know the assignment. More fighting for our country. Now, we are very close to losing it. We are at this turning point where we could either lose it all or take it back. We need to fight harder. Have a beautiful day, everyone.
This is not a drill. The Republicans have passed the bill, passed the Budget Committee in the House to cut Medicaid, Social Security, SNAP. This is not good. And MAGA, no, I'm not lying. You can go and check it for yourself. It's very easy to Google. And no, illegals can't get Medicaid. So stop bringing that up as a dumbass fucking excuse because you're all fucking idiots. If your rep is a Republican rep in a Republican state, you should especially be calling and emailing them and driving them crazy to make them not allow the bill to pass the final phase. It's not in play yet, but it will be if it passes the House and the Senate. It still has to pass the House, but it's out of the creation phase, which is the budget phase. So that's bad. And we do not want this bill passing.
Shalom. First thing and foremost, I want to give all praises and glory and honor that's due to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of the great millstone that rule well. Peace and blessings and salutations to the hopeful elect. Those in the gospel abroad, living up the standard of Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, wherever they may be. This is another lesson through the Spirit. And you people going out bad, especially you women. This is a video of, a typical modern day demon that like to go on social media and they give their rants about how dissatisfied they are with men. And she was basically saying in a roundabout way how single mothers need to band together. Like, what's that gonna do, right? Even though there's an epidemic of single mothers, because they are literally a dime a dozen. I mean, they're so in abundance, especially among our women. That's quite common for them to be married out of wedlock and have children by multiple men. But basically, she's going on a tangent about how Trump is basically cutting benefits for women that break up with their men. And the funny part about it is that she stated that the woman, the child has to suffer along with the woman because the father decides to walk away. Well, we've been losing since Jump Street, because that's off the strength of us not marrying the woman or walking away from a destroyed relationship because she totally is out of order, we get hit with child support, we get hit with alimony, and oftentimes we have limited visitation. And for a man to fight for visitation, that's like pulling teeth in itself, because ultimately men don't win joint custody battles, especially when they live across state lines. So now the woman is complaining because now Trump is apparently to level a playing field. But we've been telling you that your vengeance is going to fail, and sooner than later this child support shit is going to literally be a thing in the past, because they're cracking down on all these things, man. You know, as you women have literally lived high off the hog for the last 60, 70 years off men's backs and labors with nothing to show for it. Hey, I don't disagree with what Trump is doing in that regard. It says the big beautiful bill, Republicans want to take away SNAP benefits away from single mothers who have children 7 years or older. And it's because, you know, you women, you literally have been milking this system dry since day one. And they come into the realization that a lot of women, they destroy households. And then what happens is when the father breaks up or she puts him out or whatever may happen, she would go and get on benefits, and they'll put this nigga on child support. And then, you know, she get food stamps, she gets alimony or child support, she gets Section 8 public housing, she gets Medicaid or Medicare, all sorts of government assistance, and she lives lazily off that shit. So now they're cracking down like, wait a minute, if you don't... Basically, he's trying to force the families to stay together because he's pushing that pseudo-Christian dogma, okay, that Edomite dogma about, you know, the Christian ideologies on how this place was funded, which it was funded off witchcraft. But basically, he's pushing that whole paradigm of, yeah, you know, the families need to stay together, and, you know, we need to bring back certain things, and we need to do away with OnlyFans content, which all that shit is good talking points. I mean, it all makes sense. You know, I feel like if you're a woman enough to lay down with a man, then you should be woman enough to keep that man. You know, and stop giving up your vajayjay and fucking around with everybody and getting pregnant by everybody just to get these benefits, man. Okay, the concept in the ancient world, when you had a wife and you had babies with her, it was intentional. But now people out here are dating without an intention, which in this society you can't really blame them, because these people, they're literally through, man. No morals, no respect. They have no self-conscience. They're just all over the place. And like I was reading a comment, it said women want the power or authority of a man. They want the benefits of a woman, and they want the accountability of a child, because they want their cake and eat it too. So now this bitch, she's mad because for the simple fact she's getting ready to get cut off from her benefits because she failed to keep a man, which that's your problem. You know? So it's not looking too good for you women, man, all right? So anyway, this is the book of Proverbs 14, and I'm going to start at verses 1. It says, every wise woman buildeth her house, but the foolish pluck it down with her own hands. And that's the majority of the kind, you know? Because, see, women are used to having that security blanket. They're used to having the safety mat, fucking up the house, destroying the men, sending them to jail. And they're used to big daddy government, so-called white men, and other simp niggas and other women to come to their rescue to pretty much hold them in esteem of not being accountable. So therefore the man suffers on the back end. He becomes broken, derelict and broken, and before you know it, he's just another statistic, not able to make ends meet for himself because he's totally in a shithole, you know, dealing with these women. But the woman gets away scot-free. She gets off, you know, and she go ahead and lives her life while destroying another sucker's life, and she's to live to tell about it. And that's been the case for the last 70 years, man. But now we're coming into a time that Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai is holding you women accountable, man. That's why it says every wise woman build her house. Yeah, because a wise woman understands the type of man she's going to deal down with, and she understands her role as a woman and the dynamic of a woman. Instead of just relying on her body and her looks, she understands the importance of family. Okay, she understands the importance of particular relationships, and she understands the role of a man on having him to have authority over the family. But see, in this current evil world, the woman has the authority. She's the head of the household. She makes this decision. She calls the shots. She gets all the benefits. They give her a job with a pristine title. Before you know it, that goes to her head. And then, you know, the man, he's pretty much reduced to nothing. He's a deadbeat. He's a bum. You know, he's just a sad case of a man. And that's usually what it is, man. You know, but it says here, but the foolish pluck it down with her own hands, you know, and we see that because according to the scriptures, the woman's supposed to keep the house, you know. So let's go back and listen to some of what she's saying so I can get a little bit more in depth. But let's listen to the rest of this folly, this madness.
5. They are trying to push that if the father leaves the household with a 7-year-old child or older in it, the mother and the child lose their SNAP benefits. So,
because ultimately the benefits is really supposed to be temporarily. Like, you're not supposed to be living off that shit for 20 years. Like, you got people that's been getting EBT, or we call in Chicago EBT, electronic benefit transfers, or whatever it's called, with SNAP, or they call it food stamps. People get that and they live off that shit for like 15 years, or they live off subsidized housing for 20 years, which in my opinion, I believe rent should be based on income anyway. You know what I'm saying? And when I say income, not necessarily, you know, based on low income brackets, but if you make, let's just say if you make $4,000 a month, then they should be able to fluctuate a rent, some type of rent surcharge within the amount of money you make, instead of having you to pay market rent, because market rate rent is marked all the way up. Can nobody afford it? So subsidize for people that's working and it's actually paying bills. I don't disagree with that, but at the same time, you got motherfuckers on Section 8 and they're milking the system dry at our tax dollars. So therefore, shit gets more expensive for us, while you got some bum ass bitch, excuse my French, sitting back getting child support, getting food stamps, and she's getting free rent, and she has an OnlyFans account, making money off that, man. Like, you'd be surprised on the type of money these women make on these social platforms. OnlyFans being another one. You know, she may have a job at Walmart or McDonald's working a drive-through. She might have low rent or no rent at all, working 20 hours a week, 3 kids, and in the back, she's out there farting in fucking water bottles and putting it on OnlyFans and showing our body on OnlyFans for $10 subscription a month. She's selling foot pics and all this other bullshit on the side, making money, man. And they're getting ready to crack down on all that shit. So you women, it's you finna suffer, man. Okay, the Lord is gonna force you, especially you so-called black women, he's gonna force you back into a situation with your man, whether you want it or not. Because this whole free, independent shit, you were never meant to be free or independent of anything. Okay, you were always considered property. Scriptures say he that getteth the wife getteth the possession. So you was always gonna be under somebody's jurisdiction or tutelage, man. Okay, whether it be your father, whether it be your mother teaching you to be a proper woman, or whether you're transferred to your husband, you're gonna always be under a man's jurisdiction. And you don't like that, but that's how the way the Most High set it up, man. All right, let's get this. Genesis 3, and I'm gonna start at verses 16. And unto the woman he said, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow and thy conception, and sorrow shalt thou bring forth children, and thy desire should be to thy husband, and he shall rule over thee. And that's just how the natural way of things were. Okay, since you were created as a helpmeet, you were always meant to be ruled over. All right, that ain't just happened because you started going into the philosophies of the serpent, because the serpent told you that you didn't have to be ruled over, and you went with exactly that. But Yahweh Shai said you had to be ruled over by men, because when you go to Numbers 30, it say that you can disannul the prayers of your daughter or your wife. You know, because ultimately the man has the power over life or death in his family, man. So he's the ultimate head. And you women are getting ready to figure that out, because we're coming into some trying and devastating times, to say the least. You see? So let's go to the book of Corinthians 11, and I'm going to start at verses. Let's start at verses 7. Let's start at 8. It says, for the man is not of the woman, but the woman of the man. Neither was the man created for the woman, but the woman for the man. All right. So that right there shows the order of things. You were created for men. Okay. You weren't created to be independent or boss this or that. Or you wasn't created to go out here and do your own thing and girls trip. And I want to go here and here and here. And I want to throw a bachelorette party in Miami some fucking where. Then I'm getting married the next day after I've been a total slut for the last 35 years of my life. Now I want to get married to some simp. No, that ain't how the Lord intended it. Okay, you supposed to be ruled over by men of righteousness, man, and told what to do. And at the same time, keeping the house, making sure everything is in order, man, making sure the kids are learning properly. But instead, you chose this pseudo ideology of liberating you, and that ain't what the Most High wanted, man. All right. And it says, for the man is not of the woman, but the woman of the man. So you were created for our sake, nothing more, nothing less. And we don't care how you feel about that.
So the only way to get those back and get that assistance is to get remarried.
Yeah, get married, because the average woman wants to be married, at least in the righteous culture or in a somewhat decent culture. Okay. This, roughly paraphrasing, Salakia got a text, but yeah, this society, they teach that marriage is a bad thing because it's ultimately a business contract between the state government, and the woman and the man, and usually the man is held on for the bill. He's held on the ropes for the bill, while the woman gets away scot-free with all the benefits. And that's why these women are mad, because they can't capitalize off the man anymore, man. Okay, you were used as a tool for these political movements like feminism and women's lib. You know, I don't need no man, me too, independent shit. You were only used as a pawn to fuel these particular political movements to destroy your men, because the target have always been the Israelite man. All right.
Let that sink in for just a second. So they're punishing the mother and child, they are saying, for the father leaving, because the mother and the child must have done something wrong to make.
And that's typically how it goes. Okay, I don't really know too many men that walked away from their families because they didn't want to be there no more. It was always something that pushed the man over the edge. Okay, whether it's something minute or it could be something major. But usually, I say 7 times out of 10, there's a reason why the man leaves and say it turns his back on the woman and the kids. Okay, it happens all the time, man. It ain't because the nigga don't want to be there, but it's because when you take away the ability of a man to govern his family in the right way, and you have to bicker and back and forth, and you have to fight with a woman over how to raise a child, then usually a man walk away from that because it's just like, okay, at this point, I'm not finna play tug of war to be in my kid's life. And the kid suffers, and the father suffers behind it because now he's labeled a deadbeat. Everybody hates him, wants to see him fucking destroyed. And at the same time, he's paying child support, and then the kid has a taint of narrative as to what transpired, and the kid grows up without a parent, being totally subjugated to the influences and the emotions of the damn woman. And that's usually how it happens, man. But let Keisha tell it, oh, it ain't her fault. And she says that because not enough people is holding this black woman accountable. All right. But this is the book of Titus 2. And I'm going to start at verses 1. It says, but speak thou the things which become sound doctrine, that the aged men be sober, grave, temperate, sound in faith, in charity, and patience. Right. But the aged woman likewise, that they be in behavior as becoming holiness, not false accusers, not giving too much wine, but teachers of good things. Yeah, and these women are teaching, they're not teaching good things, man. Because like she's saying here, she's frowning at the fact that her benefits gets cut off if the father walks away. Which I'm not mad at that, you know. But instead of saying, you know what, we need to submit, we need to humble ourselves, we need to be women to our men, we need to calm down and let our men lead and let go of this feminism crap, maybe things will work out. But she's not teaching the young women that, but instead she's saying single mothers need to band together to put a stop to this shit because we want our freedom. Like being with a man is slavery or something, bro. This nasty work. But it says here to become holiness, not false accusers, not giving too much wine, teachers of good things, that they may teach the young women to be sober and to love their husbands. And these women, they don't teach that today. To love their children, to be discreet, chaste, keepers at home. Right. You supposed to be kept in the house, man, not traveling all over the world to get your rocks off. Well, I want to go here. I want to go to Japan for hot girl summer. No, it's not how that works, you know. And it says here to be discreet, chaste, keepers at home, obedient to their own husbands. Now, when you look up the word obedient, and this is another thing that they like. You tell a woman she got to be obedient at you. She looking at you like, nigga, you ain't my God. Well, yes, I am, according to the scriptures. But the word obedient goes into hypotasio, which means to arrange under, to subordinate, To subject, to put in subjection. So we supposed to put our women in order, you know. But Esau has come and he's totally destroyed the order of man, woman, and child by giving these women power over the men. And this is why the courts are flooded with divorces every year. Okay, they say 80% of the women initiate divorce. So what that tells you, and it be off the dumbest shit. I'm just tired of him. He don't make me laugh no more. He told me I had to dress a certain way. I can't wear my heels. I can't wear my dress that shows my cleavage. And she'll throw away a fucking 15-year marriage all because he won't allow her to go be a hoe with her friends. Make it make sense. But it says to put in subjection, to subject oneself, obey, to submit to one's control, to yield to one's admonishment or advice, to obey, to subject. So you supposed to be obedient to your man. Give a damn who you are. And you're going to learn obedience real soon when the Lord allows this so-called white man to come through and start putting you head to ground. All right, because the so-called white man going to literally put your head through the damn curve, man. And it's going to be the spirit of the Lord that's going to allow him to do it. Okay, like Jake men are walking away now. They're not dealing with this no more. You know, they're smashing, they're pumping and dumping, and they're like, I'm not dealing with you. You bring too much baggage, too much this, too much that. But it says here, obedient to their own husbands, that the word of the Most High be not blasphemed. Okay, but young men likewise exhort to be sober-minded, in all things showing thyself a pattern of good works and doctrine, showing uncorruptness, gravity, sincerity, sound speech that cannot be condemned. Okay, so that's the role of the man. But peep this. Let's go to the book of Sarak 3, and I end it. It's the book of Sarak 3, and I'm gonna start at verses. Let's start at verses 3. Start at 2. It says, "For the Lord have given the father honor over the children, and have confirmed the authority of the mother over the sons. But whosoever honored his father, making an atonement for his sin." And a lot of people don't honor their fathers because of the stories that were told by their mothers. Well, your daddy left because he didn't care about you, and that's not the case. He left because you was probably a bitch and a demon and a headache, so he left. And it says here, "And he that honored his mother is as one that laid up a treasure." And what I realize is that they don't hold no accountability. Like if I ask my mother to this day, why did my father leave you and not marry you? She will give me every excuse in the world outside of what the fuck she didn't do. You know, she wouldn't even answer the question. She'd just say, I don't know, he didn't want to be there. She'll say that. But what I realized just being in the house growing up and being a boy at the time and didn't want to be around that type of energy, just imagine what he didn't want to be around. So off the strength of growing up, you know, around my mother, I can see why my pops wasn't around like that. I can see why he didn't want to be around. You know, it just, I can see why. And you know what? It is what it is. But it says here, "Whosoever honored his father shall have joy over his own children, and when he maketh his prayer, he should be heard. And he that honored his father shall have a long life, and he that is obedient to the Lord should be a comfort to his mother. But he that feared the Lord will honor his father, and will do service unto his parents as to his masters. But honor thy father and mother both in word and deed, that a blessing may come upon thee from them." Yeah, because they may leave you an inheritance or whatever. But it says, "For the blessing of the father established the houses of children, but the curse of the mother rooted out foundations." And this is exactly what it is. Okay, they would rather uproot their foundations with their husbands so they can get the benefits of the system than to allow the child to grow up in a prosperous household, man, having father and mother. Because the children, children, they need both. They need their father and their mother. But I've known in most cases that even if you have a single father, the children are usually better off, man, than with a single mother, because the father, he has discipline, he's nurturing, he knows how to love and care for the kids, and they respect the man. You know, they respect his authority, you know. But it says here, "For the blessing of the father establishes the houses of children, but the curse of the mother rooted out foundations," man. And this is where we at. But anyway, with that, all praises and glory and honor that's due to Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. Lord's will, you will edify. Until the next lesson. Shalom.